Hi, this is Ben with Acoustic Review. We're at NAMM 2020 and I'm sat here with Andy from Taylor Guitars.
Hey there, thanks for coming to visit us.
Thanks for having us. You're
Yeah.
doing well, it's Saturday afternoon, so...
Yeah, we're excited, it's good. It's fun to get to introduce all these guitars and finally put them in the hands of players and see what they come up with.
Reception's been good, so I hear.
Yeah, from what I understand, a whole lot of creative music is going to happen.
Cool.
Now, we've got a couple of new pieces that are interesting this year. We've expanded what we call our Builder's Edition into a collection. You know, you're familiar with maybe the K14 and the Grand Pacific guitars we've launched. But building guitars based on our V-Class architecture has revealed that we can deliberately create guitars with a very different type of sound and do that on purpose. So in this case, what we've done is we've built a collection of instruments that have real specific musical identity. Now, one of the guitars that we're really thrilled about is our new 324 Builder's Edition guitar. Now that one, it has some shared attributes with the K14 and the 614 that you're familiar with, but one of the unique aspects is the way that we're sourcing wood. That guitar is actually built with what we call urban ash. It's wood that's being sourced from trees taken from metropolitan areas, from cities. When the city decides that the tree needs to come down to avoid falling on a building or crushing cars or something, those trees are being put to a better usage.
And this is wood that wouldn't normally be put to the use that you guys are doing.
It's not.
They're making fence posts out of it, or it's just going to waste?
Typically it's thrown away.
Oh, what a shame.
It's ground up and turned into mulch. Maybe you turn it into firewood. But we started looking around at that forestry model and thinking, well, surely there's a value. We could build something of lasting value with these. They're like exotic timbers that are right in our own backyard.
And of course, I mean, that all builds from the work you did with the 618 and reclaiming maple and as a tone wood, and all the stuff you do with ebony as well. So.
Exactly, and a lot of those projects, they're very forward-thinking, very long-term outlook. And so we were looking at what can we do in the near term to make better uses of resources that we're not even thinking about yet. So that's where this part is entering in the conversation. Along with that guitar, we have a new 912, which is, I think of it as the perfect guitar for somebody with a complex style. You know, whether they were an electric player with a real pyrotechnic, fast kind of piece, or a fingerstyle player that wants the ultimate in balance, in linear response out of the guitar. That's a beautiful companion. As we went through different body sizes and different shapes with our V-Class internal architecture, we came to the Grand Symphony. We realized, well, this is a guitar that has a lot of what I think of as the lung capacity of a guitar. There's a lot of air inside that body. And so with that one, we wanted to turn it into something more like an orchestral or a symphonic-like sound. So that guitar we've designed with a partial Florentine cutaway and an elliptical secondary sound port that takes that air and distributes it over a broad range of the guitar's register so that every note speaks with this beautiful singing kind of quality.
And I suppose you're moving on there from what you did with the 517 and the 717. You talked about the puff of air problem with a larger body, so that just sort of disperses that air in different directions.
Yeah, it disperses it over a larger band of the notes that you play. So rather than focusing it at one little spot and creating that puff of air that makes certain notes woofy sounding, you're taking that and diffusing it over the whole register so that it behaves with a real linear but appealing quality to it. Now that brings me to this guitar. This is a 652 12-string. Now this one's a particularly interesting guitar for us because it's built on our smallest grand concert body size with a relatively short scale length and a 12-fret neck design. Those attributes alone are something that you've seen us introduce a few years ago on the 562 model, but now upgraded with this unique beveled contour cutaway, armrest. We've even adopted the electric guitar stringing style with the lowest string closest to the player. And so it totally changes the way that a musician will approach the instrument. like the style that you use with it.
Yeah, I was playing.
Very different.
I was playing it earlier, and I was saying to you, I'm a fingerstyle player, and I find with regular 12 strings, sometimes I don't get the low end I want with my thumb, because I'm always hitting the octave string first, and so that stringing, it's kind of you get more chime on the top and more low end on the bottom. I feel if you're playing fingerstyle.
Exactly, it's like it's what I describe as a fundamental forward sound, where depending on how you hit it, it almost sounds more like a 6-string guitar with just a little shimmer to it. Fits a lot of different musical styles, especially if you're like, I'm a big Byrds fan.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I love them. I love Roger McGuinn's playing in there. Of course, some of the Beatles music and Tom Petty and those guys that are using a classic electric 12-string guitar, and so that brings out that kind of melodic sense in a person's playing. It's a really fun voice to be including here. So there's a lot of interesting music that can be made with these guitars.
Yeah. So just quickly, I just wanted to go back to the Ash guitar. Because it's not a material I see often back in size. What would you compare it to most like? Is it mahogany like, or
in this case,
or?
It's actually, I would compare it to mahogany as a pretty similar wood. The shamble ash that we're using, that's the first species out of this urban timber project. Now that particular wood originated in Central America in kind of the same growing area as our mahogany. It was propagated throughout Southern California, where it has a similar density, similar grain structure, similar dimensional characteristics, a lot of similar attributes to the mahogany that we love. So that's probably the closest direct comparison.
Yeah.
And so when you hear that guitar, a lot of people look at it, they'll listen to it, and think of mahogany. In fact, on that instrument in particular, we're combining it with a solid mahogany top and a mahogany neck, kind of to play on that association, because the two woods do behave in such a similar way.
Well, thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thanks for taking the time out to speak to us, Andy. It's been really good to see the new guitars and spend some time here and listen to you play.
Thank
Check
you.
us out at acousticreview.co.uk.